Hi, my name is Paul Smyres. I own Living Being Media, a series of blogs and sites about a variety of subjects. And on this site, 2012crossing.com, I have a lot of information regarding 2012. Um, a lot of people who are going to listen to this are interested in the subject. It's a really, really big subject, of course, and there's a lot of different opinions and controversy. Um, in my own personal research, I've just had to read a lot of information, listen to stuff on YouTube and audio, and read books. And it's hard to sort it all out. You think about it, but we all have to ultimately use our intuition and combine that with what we know as facts um, and so on, and come to some kind of consensus within yourself, and then collectively. Um, for me, I just start looking at some of the obvious things, which is things that we know are not really in the realm of fantasy. Um, it's obvious if anybody thinks about it for a couple of minutes that we have some very, very serious crises going on, and there's a reluctance on the part of a lot of people to acknowledge a problem, because what happens is, I mean, it's a normal human nature. We see something that's very complicated, we try to figure it out, and we realize, oops, tilt, we can't figure that one out. So what are we going to do about it? Well, okay, well, we're not going to look at it right now. But what we have to do as a culture collectively, and to address any kind of a destructive pattern, is to figure out, well, you have to do something different, obviously. And if you don't do something different, then there's going to be a consequence. So either you do something different or you don't do something different. If you don't do something different, then you have to understand that physics has laws. It doesn't matter what you think, whether you think your empire should last another 1,000 years or not. There's consequences in the laws of nature. And there's things that we don't even have control over. Many things, big things. We don't have control over some of the vast Earth cycles and sun cycles and so on. So, in regard to 2012, there's, a lot of talk of astronomical events, and we know they happen. So if you start thinking about it, say, well, it's happened in the past. We definitely know it's happened in the past. And any smart physicist or astrophysicist knows right now, astronomer, they know, yeah, it can happen again, because there's things up there to come our way. Asteroids. I mean, you just go to the edge of a crater, or I haven't been to one, but you see them on TV, and you'll say, well, okay, if you stand at that crater, say, well, oops, something something big hit here. It was a long time ago, but thank goodness. But I'll tell you, there was a story recently. Um, I forgot when it was, a few weeks ago, where um, some meteor or something exploded above someplace in Indonesia or somewhere out there, and just completely freaked out everybody, and set off some weapons alarms a long ways away. And all it was this natural meteorite that had hit the atmosphere, and fortunately it exploded before it got to the Earth. But getting back to the subject of 2012, I mean, what are the obvious things? I mean, the climate's changing. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's something happening. I mean, we know we know scientists agree that there was a little ice age. There's all kinds of stuff that could happen, and I mean, there's unpredictable things. There's things that could go off the scale for unpredictable, and we have to be careful what we do. And now, if you set something in motion, and if pollution is the momentum, and if that's what the big momentum is, then what's going to happen is more of that, and it's going to become a tipping point. So what where we stand right now is going to be probably, in my opinion, we're reaping the consequences. First of all, there's two things, more than two things, but there's the consequences of human activity is one thing, and they are big because they pollution and air pollution, water pollution, killing fish, burning forests, all that kind of stuff. There's definitely a problem that causes some severe changes on the Earth. But then there's the natural process of the Earth itself and the Sun itself and the huge cosmos that we're in. And it seems, kind of naive to think that, we're not going to get hit someday. We might be really lucky. Maybe we're the luckiest human beings for the last couple hundred years where we haven't really, but clearly, that's a tiny window of time. We don't know when that might be over, you know. Now, getting back to basically the real simple and obvious things is that we could get very serious power outages. That would be a natural thing. It could be cyber terrorism, but more likely it's just over demand. Infrastructure breaking down and computer problems. Power outages that cause serious breakdowns in certain regions. That could be very easy. Then we could have solar flares. So I think that one thing we should prepare for is power outages, and it would have to be local, regional. People would have to be locally, depending on big generators, small generators, any kind of ways that you can generate electricity. Every single kind would be used for some way or another. Charging your cell phone with the solar, um, and okay, so that's part of it. Then we should be. The climate is changing. This winter, 2010, early 2010, seems to be very cold and widespread snow and some very big storms that hit. So if the North Atlantic circulation changes because of the cold, all melting glacier water coming off Greenland and up in that area from the North Pole, then we could end up changing the whole weather pattern and go into a mini little ice age, or it could rebound and then we could end up having like upper New York State, more like Virginia or something. But either way, if the climate changes radically, the weather patterns in certain areas of the country or the world are going to be drastically affected. I mean, it doesn't matter which way it goes. If it goes hot, warmer, then it'll change, and if it goes colder, it'll change. So something drastic. That means people may have to move, and if they're not able to transport themselves because broken roads or poor infrastructure or low quantities of oil available for petrol, then there would be some very interesting transportation techniques being developed, like buses or maybe even try to use some of the trains more often because they can carry a lot more people at a time and all that sort of thing. So I think that we're likely to see some very serious astronomical events, not just because of the um, correlation with 2012 along the ecliptic of the galaxy and that alignment, but possible extraplanetary and extrasolar system energies coming from Sirius and the galactic center, that cosmic waves are extremely, extremely powerful. It's hard to quite grasp them, but because we don't see them with our normal perception, but try to understand. I'll have to talk about more because this is segment's almost over. But cosmic waves are extremely powerful and they can affect an entire solar system. So why don't you try our next segment where I'll expand on that.